Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's date is July 3rd, 2023. The time is 7:30 and this meeting will come to order. Welcome to the work session for the town of Forest Heights. Acting Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mayor Troy Barrington Lilly,
Present.
Councilmember Jamila McDonald,
Present.
Councilmember Theresa Bronson,
Councilwoman Brownson here.
Councilmember Jonathan Kennedy. Councilmember Tawana Hines,
Present.
Councilmember Paula Noble.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, let's have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. At this time, we will have approval of the meeting agenda for tonight. I move that we approve the agenda for tonight.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting for tonight. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Next, we will have election of our council president. And I would just like to state that we conducted an election or a count for council president at our last meeting. However, there was, under further review, an error in the final tally of votes. So in the essence of transparency, we are recasting the vote this evening. And we will also entertain a motion to ratify once we have selected a new council president. For each of the council members, you will find a sheet on your table whereby you can select and mark the person who you would like to vote for council president, and then the clerk will collect the ballots and determine if we have a winner, or if we have a tie and need to recount. You have your sheet? Has everyone completed their ballot?
Yes.
If so, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Madam Acting Clerk. If you would also please oblige the council and read the tallies for each person who receives a vote.
Councilmember Jamila McDonald received 4 votes. Councilmember Bronson received 2 votes.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Just one moment. I move that we ratify the council president nomination for council member Jamila McDonald.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the council ratifies the council president nomination of council member Jamila McDonald. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations, council member McDonald. Next, we will have our departmental monthly reports. And we will start with the Department of Public Works. Mr. Belnavis.
Thank you for your audience. I want to point out a point of correction on the report on the 17th, on the for the 14th.
Could you try pulling that mic a little closer to you, sir?
Thank you. 1 second, please. For the 14th, at the bottom where it says
Is that item 14 or is that the date?
the date,
So that's June 14th?
June 14th, on the bottom where it says big holes or 10 footers should be dig.
Let me see. Is there a work order number? The dates don't seem to be.
The
in-
date
are they-
is the 6/14. 66.
Is that 66 as a work order number?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is everyone there? Okay. Are you sure, Councilmember? Okay, you proceed, Mr. Belnavis.
Sir?
You can proceed.
Okay. Where it says big, it should be dig, 10 footers. And that was for the gathering space where we installed the 10 16-foot poles. Let me see.
Are you sure that's work order number 66?
It's on the next page.
Oh, it's on the next page.
At the top.
66.
I see. Okay, state the clarification once more, please.
Yes, where it says big holes, it should be dig, D-I-G, holes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you for the clarification.
And if you could delete 4, just say dig holes, 10 footers. And that's
Okay.
the,
Can I ask a question?
yes, please.
Post for?
The poles are for the awning that was placed, was supposed to be up for the gathering space when we had that function. The Juneteenth function. That's the reason for the poles.
And it's gonna be what on the post?
Awning, and we didn't have the awning to put up at the time, and we now have it, and so it will be installed. Yes, it will be covered, yes.
It's a sunshade, not an awning.
Any other questions for the Public Works report? Councilmember Noble?
Just for the future, if it's maybe easier if you could number the pages. So that way we can reference to it a little easier.
Thank you, Councilman.
I have a question, another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Will
Sure,
you all be
Councilmember Brownson.
working in the community garden, cleaning that up?
Yes, we will.
You know when you'll be starting?
We this week.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll next move to Department of Public Safety. Are there any questions for the public safety report or for code compliance?
You said for public safety and code compliance to go together?
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
There's a separate report, but I was wondering if you had a question about either one.
I have a question for code compliance. Some residents brought some letters to me that they had been issued by the code enforcer. And they didn't quite understand what it all meant. So I was wondering, is there some way whenever they get a code of, a warning of code violations, can an explanation or something go with them? Especially for the Spanish speaking residents, and it's all in English, so they have a hard time understanding what it all means. So is there a way we can rectify or have some clarity in that?
So if I'm clarifying the question, Councilmember Bronson, you'd like to know if we can provide notices in Spanish and English?
Well, yeah, well, especially to the Spanish I mean, I don't know whether you need it all the time, but if you know if a resident, well, you could say Spanish and English. Oh, yeah, always.
Yeah, it would be hard to determine.
Right. So yeah, Spanish and English.
Chief Reese or Mr. Green. Is it Mr. Green, you prepared this report, correct? Correct, sir?
That's correct.
Could you talk to me briefly about the potential for providing the notice in English and in Spanish?
I think that's possible. We can make that happen. I'll talk to the town administrator and the chief and see what we can do about making that happen. But for the record, each notification that goes out does specifically tell what the violation is and gives a method of correction.
Right. But I mean, if they can't read English.
Well, I wouldn't know. There's no way to
Right.
determine just
Right.
by the name whether they're English or
Right,
Spanish.
Yeah. So that's what.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Any other questions? Councilmember McDonald.
Yes, I just have one quick question. What does CW 18 mean? The incident type, CW 18?
Mr. Green.
That's a police, if you will, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Reese, you want to answer that question
Yeah, it's
instead?
on the police report. CW, that means community walk. 18 in police terms is called premise checks. That means that the officers are calling out over the radio and they're getting out of their cars and conducting community walks to wherever they're calling at in specific locations. So that's a way for us to kind of data reporting that they are calling it out.
Okay, one follow-up to that. So it's only when there's an incident. Does the police walk the community outside of noticing an incident?
No, so the police, this is just for reporting purposes. So the police walks all the time. We direct the police officers to do community walks throughout the jurisdiction all the time. That means walking up to residents, visiting the schools that's in our jurisdiction, or walking through our commercial corridor. And that incident does not have to prompt that.
Thank you.
Anyone else have Councilmember Noble?
Yes, I had a question for Mr. Green. I know we talked about it during the budget prep, getting the number of rentals. I just want to make sure we stay on that for preparing for our next budget so we can do it in a timely manner.
As of right now, we have 32 rental properties that are registered with the town, but I'm pretty sure that that's not all. So I'm continually coming across folks or addresses of the owners that don't match up with the addresses from the town. So I am in the process of at least 5 or 6 more, trying to ascertain if they're rental properties or if they're family members living there.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions for the reports, Chief Reese, if you could please briefly share with the residents and the council what the police department is doing after receiving numerous reports of an individual attempting to break into or steal vehicles in the town over the last month on Ring cameras.
Yes, sir. For mayor and council, so we have received multiple complaints about a single individual that was going around the town, really trying to try door handles to see what he can get inside. The residents actually sent in multiple Ring camera or surveillance footage. My staff did review the footage, and we put together a plan. And in simplest terms, that plan is that we did speak with each of those residents just to make sure if they had any additional information. We spoke with any of the surrounding residents to see if they had any, to see if they saw anything. So what the police department is going to do is we're going to uptick patrol in that current area. We're going to use technology methods to kind of surveillance that area. And what we're also going to do is we're going to put the message signboard in that specific area. And also we're going to have, we're not going to tell when we're going to do this, but we will have unmarked vehicles in the area monitoring those specific times that individual. Now, this individual has been seen before, but by the time that we get there, they're already gone. So we do want to encourage the residents to, when they see something like that, contact 911 or Prince George's County non-emergency. Prince George's County non-emergency number is 301-352-1250.
Could you say that one more time,
I'm
Chief,
sorry.
just a little slower?
Yes, it's 301-352-1200. That is a way to contact the non-emergency. That's where the dispatcher will contact the police, get them in the area, and they will answer the specific questions that is needed so we know what to do when we get there. If the event happened after, and you may see it later, always use the method of communication to the police department, such as our email, which is crime tips at ForestHeightsMD.gov. That's CRIMETIPS at ForestHeightsMD.gov. Also, everyone knows our telephone number, which is 301-839-4040. And we do encourage, which we do monitor. You can contact us on our social media handle, which is Forest Heights PD.
Is that 4040 open 24 hours?
No, that's only during normal business hours. So if there is an incident, that's when we want to someone to contact Prince George's County non-emergency, which is the 301-352-1200 number. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one other piece of information. Since residents sent in the information, and many of them copied myself. The complexity of this particular issue is that these attempts have occurred at a time when residents are not awake. So it does add a level of complexity, but I want to thank the residents who sent in the video and the information and detailed specifically what is going on. It helps us to try to put a plan into place, and I ask that you would be patient with us. We understand that we want to be proactive, and we are trying our best to adjust to the situation, being as it happens at a time when most people are not alert and not awake. So thank you for the information on how to report, and look forward to hearing any updates, any progress, any details or developments between now and the next meeting. Also, residents, if you continue to experience or notice this individual or other individuals, continue to bring it to our attention.
I have another question for.
Yes,
Chief
Councilmember
Reese.
Brownson.
Is the town still a no soliciting town? Meaning that vendors can't come through the town with ice cream trucks?
As far as ice cream trucks,
Yes, Saturday morning, there was an ice cream truck on North Run at 10 o'clock in the morning playing their ice cream songs.
okay. That is quite, I'm gonna be quite frank with you,
Mhm.
and it's a touchy because our residents, they enjoy the services of the ice cream truck.
I do too in the evening.
So we will look into that matter to see there's no, I mean, we can our police can monitor this, really a code enforcement issue.
Okay.
But we will bring it to the code enforcement attention and we'll kind of monitor with our patrol units. But next meeting, I can have a definitive answer for you.
Yeah, at least, I mean, if I enjoy the ice cream, but certain hours. Maybe it's the hours. I mean, put a limit on the hours or something like that.
So if we will, that's probably something like a legislative issue that we want to allow that, we would have to put some specifics in place.
Okay, thank you.
Does that satisfy Councilmember Brunson?
It helps.
It helps. Okay. Uh, Next, we have the Youth and Community Outreach Report. Are there any questions there? Council Member Brownson?
Sometimes we get these reports at the last minute, so we don't have time to read it, so we don't have questions prepared. So, is it possible that they just can give a synopsis of their report?
Absolutely. Mr. Holland, could you please give a brief synopsis of your report for this month?
Absolutely. So this week, I'm sorry, this month, we attended MML where me and Councilwoman Bronson attended the homelessness.
Mr. Holland, can you move the mic a little closer?
Is this better?
Yes, much
Okay,
better.
Perfect. During the MML conference, myself and Councilwoman Bronson, we attended the homelessness session and they were talking about the decrease in overall homelessness cases. Cases in Maryland. And then they were saying that there is a spike in some areas for youth homelessness. There were conversations surrounding affordable housing coming to the southern region of the district. A location hasn't been placed yet. I was speaking with the District 8 councilman about potentially having that somewhere closer to the town of Forest Heights. One, I thought it would help with residential retention. And two, of course, it would just overall help with the homelessness epidemic that's going on right now. I've also spoken with some of the officers, and I don't know if Chief Reese can speak on this, but there aren't any shelters specifically located near the town. We're usually having to send them across state lines or to other counties. So that was one of the reasons why we were trying to bring affordable housing to this district. The Woodside Village, it's the senior living facility off of Bach Road. We're working with them to do some programming. They haven't had any contact per their coordinator with any of the representatives from the District 8 office. So we've been doing events with them. We're setting up a caller bus to get them routine grocery delivery. They were saying that they don't have adequate transportation to get that ongoing. So that was one of the things we were doing. And we also had a bingo and a luncheon for them as well, which is here. Myself and Councilwoman Noble, we sat with Ethan and Robin, who are the chief of staff and assistant of Congressman Glenn Ivey. And we were talking about potentially bringing a science and technology competition to the town of Forest Heights. There are a few conferences that go on surrounding STEM in the district, but none specifically in this area. So we spoke with them about that and potentially holding some type of competition with the schools. We know that Oxon Hill is a science and technology school in our town. So they were going to be spearheading this with the competition. Kinetics Lab is a custom apparel location at the National Harbor. They offer one-on-one or group team building exercises. They offered up their space for the town to host a community apparel customization session. It would be about 2 hours long. We're still trying to figure out if we can provide the shoes for the residents to use. That's part of the ongoing conversation we're having with the District 8 office, but I hope to have more answers on that soon.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Any questions from council, Mr. Holland today? Councilmember McDonald.
One follow-up to the last session we had regarding the Mahogany Books event. Can you give us an update on that?
Yes, so we set the date now for July 29th. I should have the graphic for that by the end of this week or early next week, but I'll be sending it out as soon as I get that.
And that information will be sent out to the community here in Forest Heights?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we'll be putting it in the newsletter.
Thank you.
No problem.
Just one moment. Could you give us the date and time information for that again, just so we can be?
So it's gonna be July 29th from 3 to 6 p.m.
The council's training, I believe, is in the morning, 10 a.m. Is it all day training? Okay.
Should I try to push it a day forward, the 28th instead of the 29th?
No, if you've already started coordinating, no, I wouldn't push the date. We just wanted to clarify. I believe the council has a session of training that's beginning that morning, but it looks like it's going to run into the afternoon. So until about 4 o'clock. So no, I wouldn't change the date, but thank you for clarification. Let me go to who had the question first. Was it council member? You don't have a question. Councilmember McDonald?
No, just wanted to understand. So the newsletter for the month of July is gonna be going out.
I believe it's sent out every other week, is it? Or is it once a month?
Mr. Jones, could you speak to the newsletter issue?
Good evening. The July news is being published by an outside source this month. So it will go out on Friday. Normally, the clerk's office takes care of that. However, the clerk is out, so.
I just wanted to make sure that according to the information that we've just given, if it's gonna go in the newsletter, that it goes in before it goes out, because I didn't know that we had some outside source now. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Councilmember Noble, did you have a question?
Just that, in my understanding for the Mahogany Bookstore, it's a District 8. It's extended to District 8, but is it the first 50? I thought it was some kind of discount or?
Yes, so the town is gonna cover $1,500 for the budget for the free books, but that's we don't have a set price for how much each book costs, so it'll just be until supplies runs out.
Thank you.
Is there like a limitation to one book per person?
Yes, so the first book is free, and then after that, the residents have to pay for the rest of the books.
Okay.
So is the bookmobile coming here?
No, it's a brick and mortar store at the National Harbor, so it's an actual bookstore at the harbor.
Oh, so they'll have to go over there, so.
Yes.
Yeah, so you won't get okay, thank you.
Or if you had a suggestion for trying to get books to people who aren't mobile, maybe the town can purchase some books and we can get a registry for them and send it to them that way if they aren't able to come, but.
Let me, one moment, Councilmember
I'm
Noble.
sorry, back to the bookstore again. Does Mahogany have a way, an online, where say residents aren't mobile, that they could purchase with the District 8 information? You know what I mean?
Right, not that I know of, but I can check with them.
What I was going to add is that I would like to see a way that youth from Forsyths are engaged in the process so they get to take advantage of this. I know that some other residents will be there, but I want to make sure that we have a target and we think through very clearly and specifically how we're going to get the kids there, because it's a partnership with the District 8 office, but we want to make sure that the majority of people who take advantage of this and find out about this are in Forsyths. I know that we have the bus that was procured through the PAL program. Maybe we should think about using the bus to maybe transport children there, look at some of the issues around parental permission, but I just want to make sure that if we do the event that folks in Forsyths get to take advantage since it's off-site. So let's really think about that. And if I could, Mr. Holland, who else are you working with on the event? I just want to be clear because I want to come back.
Just the town administrator, the district 8 office and myself.
Okay. Let's you and I get together and circle back on this issue, if we could later this week.
Sure.
I want to make sure that we have a sufficient plan in place so our young folks know about it and that they're able to participate and take advantage.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for youth and community engagement? Okay, hearing none. Next, we will move to the ARPA Program Manager's report. And Mr. O'Connor, would you mind giving a brief synopsis?
Sure, Mayor and Council. You notice on page 1, there was the Police Recruitment and Retention Grant that coordinated with the Chief of Police and wrote the grant. They came up with the process behind how those funds were going to be expended, and I was able to go ahead and get all the reports taken care of and get that grant closed out. As the chief previously explained on that grant, it was a very short window to make that happen. So I appreciate their support on getting that all sent up to the state. We're still waiting on the speed study information to come back for the Delaware Drive project related to speed humps to be installed. Some of the preliminary information already is showing that the speeding is not to the point in which speed humps would be necessary on that particular roadway. Continue working with the police chief for the installation of automated enforcement equipment in specific red light cameras. And then we're still waiting on the grant from the federal government for Black Hawk Lane. And once we do get a go ahead on that, we'll go ahead and put that out to bid. Finally, WSSC released all final permits, and I have a hard date of installation, which is tomorrow. No, sorry, tomorrow's the 4th of July. It's this Wednesday, the 5th. The plumber will be on scene to run the lines to the community garden and get that finally taken care of, and WSSC will do their final inspections for the hookups. So those are hard dates from the contractors. And working with Public Works, the overgrowth that is there will be taken care of. So it'll be usable again by the residents. Additionally, on the community garden, there is a request for proposals that's been put out to replace the fencing that since has closed, and we're waiting on the we'll be waiting, most likely to come next meeting or following that, for the award of the work to replace the fencing that's dilapidated around the community garden and create a pedestrian gate. We have later on in the meeting, you'll see the Arapahoe Drive project, which has been discussed at the last meeting, this meeting, for all the critical infrastructure projects. Have been working that with the town administrator, identifying the appropriate funding sources and making sure that is moving smooth. The met with DPW on some locations. They've been truly tremendous in prepping some of the site work for that project, which has saved the town several $1000s on dealing with removal of trees and land clearing that otherwise would have definitely raised the price of any of the contracts. Right on Arapahoe Drive and Arapahoe Terrace. And currently still working on the annexation processes. Some of them are with Mr. Best right now for finalization, and we presented to Mayor and Council. And I believe we're going to be working to upwards of the 14th, 15th, and 16th annexations as we move towards the new year with CPJ. The Tyack Park is the one that is going to be coming before the Mayor and Council here soon. And then we're working on phase 1 for the Beltway and some of the other roadways that coincide with that for the service population. There are currently 3 bids that were put out for quote unquote Cope Field, Modoc Lane for the community gathering space, the fencing, and a technology program for the police department, which will cover parking and parking permits. Again, those 3 bids have closed and all the paperwork is being gathered to be given to the town administrator and the police chief for their final decisions.
Mr. O'Connor, the parking and permit enforcement, could you just give me a little bit of detail on what that's related to? Is that for enforcing parking in a certain area in the town?
Yes, it's related to the ordinance that the mayor and council passed, and what this system will do is it's more than just parking, but that's a main highlight of it. So it'll actually automate the parking enforcement section that the police department's doing, where they no longer have to write paper tickets, but it'll also handle the permits. So when the mayor and council designate a particular zone for permitted parking, this system will allow residents to go on, register, it verifies all the information, and then they get a permit to park there. It's actually very highly efficient to make it so the residents don't actually have to come down here to get the permit.
Okay. Thank you. You can continue.
Okay, great. So working with the police chief, designated, and I don't want to go too far into detail on this because of some of the restricted nature of it. I'd much rather let the chief do it, but I was able to author a grant for $304,000, which is going to go to the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention for the Safe Neighborhoods Program. What it is this grant substance is a collaborative effort through multiple municipal law enforcement agencies and governments to drive down crime in the area by engaging the youth and advanced law enforcement technology. And during this grant, I actually leveraged a lot of the work that Mr. Holland is doing with the youth and community engagement throughout District 8 and Forest Heights, because it is a very highly competitive grant. We should know in October if that grant was awarded. I also dealing with the state highway for 210 in the MOU. I think, Mr. Mayor, you were copied in some of those emails, and I was very pointed with the State Highway Administration in one of them, in which they stated we will have a response from the legal team by July 7th on our MOU.
Well, it's good to get a hard date.
Yes.
We've been waiting on legal sufficiency since April, so.
Yeah, I explained to them that it's been over a 2-year process that we've been going back and forth with them on this MOU, and it's been sitting on their legal team's desk for several months. And it was just unacceptable to the residents here that when they enter 210, they have to look at the litter and the high grass and everything that's not taken care of because the state's not out here doing it. So I think we'll have some positive traction July 7th when we get that back. We're still on track for the free tree program should the administration choose to move forward with that through Prince George's County, and working with the town administrator with the CDC for the facade improvement programs.
One other thing on number 14, I wanted to find out, does this, the partnership with Prince George's County for the trees, does it include maintenance?
They do not do the long-term maintenance on it. They plant the trees and they have, when you call it, water catch basins. So they take care of it through the very initial phase. Then our Department of Public Works would have to go ahead and water the trees. And what they would do is fill up those catch basins below the trees during that initial term. I did get the financial forecast that you asked for, what that would look like long-term. I can send that over whenever you like.
The reason I brought that up is because I talked briefly with State Senator Arthur Ellis. He's not in our district. I believe he's in District 27 or 28, but there's actually a state funded program through the Chesapeake Bay Trust, which the legislation that was passed includes the planting of the tree and then also long-term maintenance as well.
I can look into that with the Prince George's County Department of the Environment and see if they're linked into that program. If not, I can reach out to one of my colleagues over in the Chesapeake Bay Trust and see what that they're talking about with that.
Yeah, let's do that looking long-term, because I know one of council concerns is sometimes right tree, right place, and then also the maintenance of a tree over time.
Yeah, it's definitely a valid concern.
Also, could you just speak briefly about the RFP for youth services?
Oh, yes.
Youth services and planning. Sorry.
That wasn't in this one because I sent this in before I got that. So I authored an RFP, which I've now been able to get the authority to post for a a firm or individual to come down for youth and community engagement to assess and evaluate the town's programs, goals, initiatives, and work with Mr. Holland, Mayor, Council, and associated staff to set a good path forward for where the town wants to be and what the youth are actually looking for. And it's not just targeted at the youth, but the citizens in general, but it does have an emphasis on youth. So the RFP is drafted, will be posted, and it's going to be up there for 20 days. We're most likely MML's site is still down, so we'll post it on our website as well as reach out to any firms that may have shown interest in the past. So it is a good pool of proposals that we can go over.
And is there a pre-bid conference?
Yes, there is going to be a mandatory pre-bid conference in which anybody that all of our RFPs, I make mandatory pre-bid conferences. This way, if there's any questions that need to be asked, we can answer them right then and there. This one is going to be virtual. This way, it's easier to accommodate what I'm anticipating more than several firms looking at this based on the area we are and how many people are engaged in this. So we will have the pre-bid conference. And after that, it'll be waiting on their proposals and the closure date.
Thank you. Thank you. And those were the questions I had. Any other council members have questions about the ARPA manager's report?
I do.
Yes, Councilmember
I
Bronson.
have several, but the one that I have, the one you just mentioned about the RFP for a firm to do youth engagement. Is there a budget item for that? Or did we get a grant for that? How is that funded?
Yes, that is grant funded.
By
That is
whom?
grant funded. We have a collection of funds. I'm not going to say which line item is coming out of, but we have funds that were allocated by the county, which are specifically to be used for
Okay.
youth services. And just to clarify, the RFP is not for administering the services, it's for developing a plan for what services there will be
It's like-
and for
it's
what the
like a-
benchmarks will be for meeting objectives, goals, and planning.
Okay.
And Mr. Jones, could you speak to the line item that is going to be?
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, the budget amendment that is in your packet for this month is actually the funding source for that program. We're jumping a little bit ahead, but budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 2024. The county awarded us $440,000 for that program. So that is a part of the budget amendment that's in your July packet.
And
Any
then
other questions?
yeah, I have one more question. Are there any grants out there to help fix the streets in the town? I know you see a lot of grants, and I guess somebody else is helping look for the police department, but are there any grants out there that we can find to help the streets in Forest Heights?
Yes, so one of the things I do, council member, is I professionally write grants. So it's one of my things I love to do. So the DHCD has tons of grants that are available, Department of Housing and Community Development. They're block grants. In fact, we already have one grant that's been awarded for Cree Drive project through them as well. So that's one that we can tap, and there's several infrastructure grants that are available. I'm currently working on since there's such a severe stormwater management problem in the town, I'm working on a hazard mitigation plan, and that's going to tap into the federal homeland money that we would be a subrecipient through Prince George's County. I'm going to be reaching out to Homeland from Prince George's County to get a notice of interest so we can go ahead and apply for a hazard mitigation grant, which would take care of the stormwater management as well as some of the roadways, infrastructure, curbs, and our stormwater management issues that we're seeing. We are primed for that grant based on our geographical region and, of course, all the evidence that we have from stormwater. And that is one of the 2 top priorities from Homeland on this grant. And I think we're a good candidate for it. So with those questions, yes, there's multiple sources, but those are the finer details of where I'm looking right now.
Thank you.
And I also might add that to the staff, specifically Public Works and Mr. O'Connor in the ARPA project manager position, as mayor, I'm prioritizing a capital improvement plan, which will identify in detail the streets that have issues with repaving, streets that have issues with stormwater management. As part of our approach to do this work and to do it well and to do it comprehensively over the next few years, I think that it's imperative that we have a plan that identifies what needs to be done and prioritizes how we do it. And in Mr. O'Connor's report, one of the things that we did to supplement, because I know there's a lot of grants for other things happening, but the grant that we submitted through the Appropriations Committee in the House of Representatives in Congress should, if we are awarded that grant, should give us a very significant sum to get started and continue some of the work that we want to do on streets that are really, really highly affected. And that's, if we're awarded that grant, it will likely be, between 1.7 to $2 or $3 million.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, just a point of clarity on the Homeland Security grant. It's likely we'll put in for that, and there's a lengthy review process. So it'll be at least 1.5 years or 2 years before the jurisdictions actually awarded that money from the federal government. However, DHCD money is awarded on the fiscal years. So I just wanted to set the expectation that the things move slower at the federal end of things. However, not with Blackhawk. I think we'll have a solution on that. And we asked for 3.5 million. And I think your projections are exactly where I'm at, about 1.75.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Also, on that grant specifically related to Blackhawk, the way that Appropriations Committee has written that grant, it's got to be used within a 12-month period when it's awarded. So that is a grant that's designed to be used rapidly. That's why that project was submitted, because it wasn't for projects that are down the pipeline that need to be scoped out. Is specifically for projects that have an estimate and can be started and completed within a very specific window. Any other questions from council on Councilmember Kennedy?
Mr. O'Connor, where on the list is the top part of CRE, or is that still on our list of things to address?
It is still on our list of things to address. In fact, I've scheduled an appointment after speaking with the town administrator to have a survey done of the entire area with a professional surveyor to make sure that we're operating in the town's right of way. And if we're not in the town's right of way, how are we going to go ahead and mitigate that to make sure that we're operating legally? So that it is still in progress, it's still working, and as soon as the surveyor is cleared up from other tasks, they'll come out and do that. I don't anticipate it being more than 25 days. And there's already money available for that survey.
And just for clarification, this is the water that's behind the homes, not on the street side.
Yes, it absolutely. It's the ones that's behind the home is why the survey is so important as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also would like to, on that point specifically, Councilmember Kennedy, and that's in Ward 2, that's in your ward, right at the top of CRE. I actually met with residents who live on CRE Drive at that top half of the street and personally viewed their backyards and the erosion that's taking place there. I met with them last month and we set a meeting, which is actually going to be this Saturday, July the 8th, to discuss with staff and with those residents the status of what's going on in their yards. It's going to be for staff to hear their concerns and for us to, from that meeting, come up with a plan about how we're going to address it. So I'm glad you brought that up. We're being proactive about that. And I know that's been an issue that's languished for many years. I was told close to 2 decades, but we want to address that. I saw it in person and, I think that's something that we really need to have a solid plan for and some accountability.
What time is that meeting?
It's going to be at 10 p.m. on Saturday morning.
10 p.m.?
10 a.m.
Okay. And it's gonna be where?
It's going to be here in the town. It's going to be in the mayor's office.
Okay.
Any other questions, Councilmember McDonald?
Yes, I had one question for Mr. O'Connor. Mr. O'Connor, can you please help me understand the Maryland State Highway and that MOU?
Yes, council member. So 2 years ago, the town began working, roughly 2 years ago, working on a memorandum of understanding for a right to access or work within the state highway right of way on 210 from Bald Eagle down to basically the district line. Right now, the reason, first of all, the reason an MOU is necessary to work in the state right away is because we don't have the authority to do any work where it's a state road, whether it's tree removal, trash pickup, cutting the grass, the trees, removing trees, planting trees. We need to have permission to enter the state's right of way to perform that type of work. So about 7 months ago now, roughly, we started back with the state discussing the MOU. Mr. Best did several renditions of it to go ahead and try and appease the state of Maryland regarding the fiscal end of our work in the state right of way. We came to an amicable agreement, which we felt was amicable, which gives us the ability to get into the right of way. And still the state maintains it on their cutting cycles, which is normally about every 6 weeks, they'll come through and cut the grass unless there's a public safety issue. So that's what that memorandum of understanding allows. It's been held up and legal with the state for about that same period, 6-7 months. We've stayed on top of the state with several emails, making phone calls. At one point, I was able to have a conversation with the former Secretary of Transportation to help expedite it, which he did, but then there was a change in administration. So I think things got mixed up there. Either way, this MOU will give us the right to go in there and clean up the trash, cut the grass, fix the trees, and keep that area beautiful in between the state highway coming out every 6 to 8 weeks.
I have a question.
Sure, Councilmember Brownson.
In on that respect, will the state highway reimburse the town for doing that work?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
What I would like to add on that point, that we are making a very significant budget amendment this evening if the council chooses to adopt the legislation that would bring into the town's account about $475,000, which is to be used in Forest Heights and in the immediate surrounding areas to address beautification. It's a grant that is specifically for beautification, litter removal, and sanitation in outdoor areas. So while we won't be reimbursed from the state, we will be able to use funds from the county to address this issue.
And when I say absolutely not, but the reason behind absolutely not is because if we were to take over full maintenance of that roadway, meaning trash pickup, grass, it would be an exponential cost to the town. So what we worked out with the State Highway Administration is that we'll be the in-between, we'll be the go-to. If there's a resident complaint, if we see the work that needs to be done, we'll go out and take care of it in between you still maintaining that section of roadway. So we don't have to bear the burden of the full cost that it would actually be to go out there, pick up the trash, cut the grass, the trees, which is very expensive after we did the research for all the equipment and the personnel that would be needed to actually maintain it the right way. So that is why. So we're the in-between to make it beautiful for our residents and go from there.
Any other questions for the ARPA project manager in his report? Sure, Councilmember Noble.
Mr. O'Connor, on that note, on the 210 cleanup, will we still monitor our public works hours so that in the future we know that X number of hours are expended to clean 210 as opposed to, just to have a number and a dollar amount, because it may become too costly, or we may have to take other actions, but we won't know that unless we create the historical to look at.
Yeah, I've worked with the chief when he was doing that, Mr. Bill Navis, and the town administrator to come up with a process that tracks where the personnel are going, what work they're doing. And it really didn't recreate anything. The work orders that are in the system will go ahead and detail that. They'll be able to track it that way, but we do have a system in place.
I have a comment on it. I remember when you all started talking about cleaning up 210, that it takes a special kind of training for someone to be out there on that highway cleaning up. It's very dangerous. So is all that taken into consideration when you think about putting public works out there on a state highway?
Mr.
Mayor,
Jones,
if I
do you
may.
want to answer? Yes, please. do.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so we will be sending them to the State Highway Administration to get that training. And we will likely, I can't think of the name of the device right now, But there's a barricade device that you install on the back of one of the trucks. We will likely use some of the beautification money to purchase that device and install it on one of the newer trucks, just to protect them while they are out there.
Any other questions or comments on this report? Okay, well, next we will move to the town administrator's report. And Mr. Jones, if you could give a brief synopsis, please.
Yes, sir. Let me see here. So, as everyone is aware, I've been acting in this role for a couple months now. I'm really trying to still get a handle on everything that is going on within the town and get a pulse on all our different financial sources throughout the government. We know that we have outstanding audits that the mayor and myself and Mr. DeSalvo, which this body contracted to assist us. We don't speak every day, but we are actively working on audits probably every other day, or every couple of days. We're in a Zoom meeting with the auditors, ensuring they have all the documentation. It looks like we are now at the end of the 2I. It's been a long day. The FY21 audit. There are a few more control items which we are waiting to come in from a couple vendors, just so they can run a few more controls tests on our side. And that one will take 4 weeks to do the final report and get that to the council. And we will dive into FY22. Mayor Lilly had already started requesting documentation from a lot of the vendors in FY22, so we're ahead of the ball already. And I have downloaded all of the payroll data and expenditure data. So we're ahead of the game. And we all know that FY23 just ended a couple of days ago. So we haven't got there yet, and I'll let you know when we get to that one. But of course, it is on our radar. Everyone knows we lost our treasurer. I have the last round of AP interviews this week after the holiday tomorrow, so we can get that person in place. We've still been running seamlessly without it, so the residents and you guys don't have to worry about that for now. But we do need to get that person in place just to take some of the workload off the rest of us that are filling in right now. We are also in the process of ensuring that we have an updated accounting manual. I am getting the last tweaks on that. Some of the issues we run into is that a lot of things are changed in our government by resolution and ordinance. So we need to make sure that we encompass all of those different documents over the years into that. So we have the necessary financial controls outside of the outdated things that are in our charter. As far as the financial controls, we are in the annual review period for all town staff. All department heads were directed to begin their evaluations on their employees this month. Of course, that will determine, except for everyone except for the police department and this FY, their merit increases for this fiscal year. We will actually, because I am running into a plethora of personnel related matters with staff and performance, we are actually going to be doing biannual evaluations. So we will get this one in July and we'll be doing them again in January in this same FY. So that way employees can see their progress or deficiencies, and we can manage it a little bit better. Let's see. Like I said in the beginning, the grant management, we have a lot of different pots of money out there that every department was kind of managing their own thing. We're kind of trying to put all of that under one umbrella. Mr. O'Connor has been really good at helping us make sure that we're getting our financials and pragmatic reporting in to all these different agencies. But it's imperative for me to run the administration that all of those things are under one umbrella, no matter what department applied for it. Because at the end of the day, when DOJ needs a report about staffing, they send the email to me. When they need it about the financials, they send it to the treasurer and copy me. So I'm trying to get a handle, or as Councilman Kennedy says, get a pulse on all these different places that we have money. And there's a lot of them out there. I've also been working on the reconciliations. I kind of do those at night, trying to pull the invoices and expenditures so we can get our money back. There are a lot of entities that owe us as a government money. So we need to refill our general coffers. So I am in the process of filling out all that paperwork and submitting all those different reimbursements to get that money back for us as well. The second floor community room facelift, I'm sure most of you noticed when you walked in today, it did not give that yellow drabby feel that we had in our last meeting. We threw a fresh coat of paint. At the request of most council, we extended the stage to the wall, so Councilwoman Noble was safer on her end of the stage. And a little bit of discounted laminate from Home Depot is on the floor, and a brighter LED light in here. So this is what we call one of the fiscally responsible facelifts. The second portion of this project is the carpet outside. Just the drabby carpet is still there, the banisters, and the first floor. That proposal will be added to your July meeting packet next week. That needs to be approved because that, of course, expenditures are way above the threshold. And that is a facelift. It's not a total remodel, but that includes gutting of the bathrooms on the first floor, getting all the paneling out of the offices, and the home Berber carpet that occupies some of those office spaces that's filthy. So we will be doing that, get that before you at the end of the month. And then my last thing is just thanking the staff, especially the police department, who assisted me with the Juneteenth celebration. It was probably one of the better organized and most well-attended functions that I have seen in my time here at Forest Heights. So I am thankful to all the staff who helped me pull that together at the last minute. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Council President McDonald, and forgive me for calling you council member all evening. Council President McDonald.
Not a problem. I'm here to serve. So thank you for that report. I have a couple questions. So we have 3 audits going on simultaneously. 21, 22, 23.
No, 21 is in progress, almost finished. We are pulling the documents for 22, 23. We haven't even.
Okay, so we haven't done
touched.
anything with that yet.
Yes.
Okay. And then my second question was the accounting firm. Are we still thinking about that?
Yes,
My
so
favorite.
you guys are gonna get emailed an updated proposal. I was hoping they would have been here today. I'm not gonna be looking for it tomorrow on the holiday. I'm actually gonna enjoy it. So on Wednesday, I hope to have that in your email. And then I will do a poll, and so we don't violate Open Meetings Act and email. We'll do an email poll to get a date where you guys can ask them questions directly instead of going through myself.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the town administrator?
Yeah.
Councilmember Brownson.
Yeah, I have a couple. You said that for the annual review for the staff, you're gonna start doing semi-annual evaluations. So will you have to update the employee handbook?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That is, I don't know if you remember last month, I say all the job descriptions and everything were being redone.
Mhm.
I received the last batch of job descriptions from ADP. The handbook that actually Mr. O'Connor started that project when he was acting TA, they are almost finishing the review. Then it'll go to Attorney Best to just make sure that, again, all those ordinances and resolutions that have been passed over the years for personnel issues or personnel matters, not issues, are in there, or if it's something that can be rescinded, and then it'll come before you for final approval. So we're probably about a month out from that happening.
And I have another question in reference to, I know you say we don't have well, I guess you're acting treasurer as well as town administrator. I don't know what, I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff. So do we have a report that shows the disbursements per month? I think we supposed to get a report for all disbursements over 5,000. Was it 1,000? They raised it to 5,000?
Yeah, they raised it to 5,000.
Yeah, so I don't, since I've been here, I haven't gotten one of those reports.
Yes, you are supposed to get the monthly disbursement report.
Yes.
So
And
we will get that out to you this week.
And the cash balance supposed to be given? at
Yes, the
same
cash balance sheet. Actually, come to think about, it, I haven't seen one of those in months.
Because
either.
you haven't done one.
Yeah, so
Mr. Jones, yeah, we could, at your soonest, get that report out to council
yes,
and, to the public as well.
Oh, and then another question I had was, that was the cash balance and the disbursement reports that should go out each month. And then another one is about the audits. You say you're doing the 2021. So is there something that you have to report to the state when you don't abide by the rules of not getting the audits done on time?
yes. So the Department of Legislative Services, DLS, is what most people will refer to it as, for the state of Maryland. We have to keep in constant contact with them with the status of the audits. They actually send me emails quite often on different things, annexations. They handle a lot for us at the state level, but audits are one of them. We have to certify that our audits have been completed and provide them copies. We have exhausted, based on the historical data that I'm reading, because this is prior to my time, we've exhausted our extensions
Right.
in the FY21 period, and we are now about to exhaust our extensions in the FY22 period. It is my hope that we can simultaneously work on 22 and 23 so that we don't even have to apply for an extension for 2-3.
So when you say you exhausted your extension, what's the consequences of that?
There are no repercussions. The state can, however, say they're going to freeze state funding that are supposed to be like state highway revenues, in terms of the police department, the GOCCP funds, police aid, things like that. They can freeze those. They have been extremely generous to the town over the past few years and not frozen that money. If we get any further behind than where we are, we likely will start seeing those repercussions.
Thank you. I just want to bring that to everyone's attention.
And if I might add, it is very incumbent upon me to make sure everything is done to get this audit done. I've laid eyes on every item that is outstanding in that audit. And I take it as a personal responsibility to make sure that those items are turned in and that the audit is closed out. And as part of my platform when running for this office, digital transformation and the shoring up of financial and legal reporting. So that includes the audit and that includes legislation that's passed in the town. Those are two of my biggest priorities. So just so you know, Councilmember Brownson and everyone who's in this room, the audit will be done. And the audits after that will be done on time. And that is the standard that we will have moving forward. For many years, that has not been the posture of the town, but I do believe that for the residents, that is what you deserve. And that is what the staff under my direction will be delivering. You're very welcome. I also wanted to add that in addition to what Mr. Jones said about the biannual performance reviews, we will be moving to a performance-based reward system, meaning that the reward or the increase that an employee of the town receives will be based on their performance from here on out. I think that it is important to tie an incentive of either meeting expectations or exceeding expectations to the financial incentives that the town gives, because we want the best from those who work for us. And I believe that we have individuals who want to provide their best. So we're going to develop them, offer training and support so that the services the town receives reflects the care of the residents and the tax dollars that they pay. And any other questions for Mr. Jones? Councilmember Noble.
It's not a question, but I just want to thank the mayor and Mr. Jones on their efforts for the audit, because that's been my concern for quite some time here, almost every other meeting for a while. But once we get on track, which I know with this mayor, we'll get on track and our audits will be on time, because also sometimes it hinders grant funding because a requirement is an audit. So if our audits aren't done, then there's some monies we're not even eligible for just from that one problem. So I appreciate all the efforts being done to get the audits caught up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble, excuse me. Any other questions? Councilmember Kennedy?
Just real quick, I know you just recently had this hat put on you also. We were told by the previous treasurer and also the person brought in to help with the audit that 22 was in progress also.
That is in the, what I call fact finding stages. It's pulling the documentation. You guys kind of get the same answer when I look at the meeting. Every meeting is, oh, we're looking for this, we're doing that. We're trying to avoid doing that. That's why we have our meetings every few days. What's happening is unfortunately the government, to be frank, but not go into personnel related issues, bad record keeping for a number of years. And it is like swimming through a paper pool downstairs, trying to find the little minute receipts that they ask for, because the auditors they look at the large purchases and those are easy to find because they stand out, they're big, but they're looking for the $1.85 that you spent on a ruler. Where's that, that receipt? And those are the ones that are hard to find downstairs. So we eventually find them from the vendor or some folder, but there's no rhyme or reason to how it's organized downstairs. So
Also, the adoption of some software in financial accounting in FY22 is going to help with getting those details, because they're hosted in a system whereby many people can access them and they're electronic. So that's one of the reasons why we're confident about the audit going forward. And obviously in FY23, that is also the case. And paper documents that needed to be located was one of the main drags on getting FY21 done, that's to my knowledge, since I've been involved with it. Any other questions related to the town administrator's report? Hearing none, we will now move to public period, which is a time when residents who are in the gallery in person or online can sign in or ask to speak and provide comment for 2 minutes. Ms. White, is there anyone who has signed up to speak tonight?
Yes, we have one person, Ms. McCutcheon.
Okay, Ms. McCutcheon, good evening. Please come forward.
Bottom line is, you're trying to change the government, but you have to go by what the rules say now. And the bottom line is that this government will have a treasurer, not an AP person, not the deputy chief, town administrator, treasurer, working with the audit, and you say that you can't find all these things. The reason for the audit is not just to get grants, it's to find out where the money went. It's got the keys to the Jeep. That's what I'm concerned about. Because the way I look at it, the grants that you talk about, the GOCCP grant, you guys didn't even get that. You have 4 police officer salary on that GOCCP grant that you didn't even get. Then you moved it back to the general fund. And on these children's grants, I mean, really, all this money for these kids in District 8, just like this book signing thing, you're gonna give this book company $1,500 because they're a minority book company. What about the rest of the book company? And I got so much to say, it's ridiculous, but you will have a treasurer, because I want to know where my tax money is going, and it's being squandered off with all of this overhead that you have going. We have 24 police officers, 24/7. How do you have 400 and something calls? Why do you have any part? 24 police officers. District I just have 11 police officers, and then you have police officers who aren't even trained, and they weren't even complying with the Maryland Police Accountability Act, and they still aren't, because the general orders aren't there. They don't know what to do. You have this code enforcement officer writing stop work stop work orders for the reasons that are not specified in the charter. Why you write them? What code you put on them? That's a liability. All these cops are a liability. That's legit. You have on.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. McCutcheon. I just want to address a couple things. First being the funds that we receive as grants are not put on the books of the town until they're received. A great example of that is tonight, the funds for youth and community development and for beautification and litter removal. We found out that we were awarded the grants a long time ago, but because we are just receiving the money, we are making a budget amendment to receive those funds tonight. And also, in relation to grants related to hiring of cops, we don't receive grants on the books of the town until those grants have been awarded. And so I thank you for your comments. I thank you for your comments also additionally relating to the treasurer for the town. While it may not be one single human being, there will be a treasurer and treasuring services happening for the town. So that will fall within the charter. And I think you can see that it is very important to me that financial management happens properly. And I understand that the audits are to track where grant funding goes and that it's an overall snapshot of the town's ability to manage funds and to report properly and to have controls in place. So thank you for your comments, Ms. McCutcheon. And thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. I'd also like to, say I do encourage and appreciate resident feedback and input. I just want to make sure that what's being shared with the public is accurate based on what I know to be true. And with that being said,
We have one more.
is there anyone else who would like to speak for
Yes,
public
Ms.
period?
Bullock.
And if you could state your name, one moment. Can you all hear her? Good evening. You'll have 2 minutes to provide your comments. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Micah. I had an idea to propose for the Mahogany Books event that we could put up advertisements in the Clinton parks, communities and centers. Yeah, like stating that they have an event going on that kids can like sign up for it. I know that don't like bus, they have bus transportations through PG Parks community and cities.
Well, in public comment, it's really for you to provide your comments. We can consider them. Yes, right. I know it's a little tricky. I understand. But no, thank you for providing your suggestions. Mr. Holland is here and the rest of the council and staff will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Mr. Mayor,
Jones.
she forgot to mention she was a resident and a summer intern. So that's whose voice you hear in the mornings when you're calling. So.
Yes, Miss Micah is actually volunteering with the town of Forest Heights this year. I think she's a great example of youth in the community getting a chance to show their ability and to learn from others and also budding future leadership. So thank you for being here. And we hope that you enjoy the summer. Looking forward to you learning a lot and taking that elsewhere to do great things. All right. Councilmember Kennedy.
I just want to say thank you for actually bringing forth a possible solution.
Okay, Ms. White, is there anyone else, anyone in the gallery online who wishes to speak?
No, there is no one else.
Okay, with that, public period is now concluded. And next we will move into legislation. And first up tonight, we have Resolution 5823, which is a resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, to approve the employment and appointment of Irma Zapian as an administrative assistant to serve within the Department of Administration, introduced by Mayor Troy Barrington Lilly. And I believe that Mr. Jones, are we looking to approve or vote on this resolution tonight, sir?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain just a little bit to the council so they're aware?
Yes, council, so we are asking for your consideration to approve this position. This is not a new position, it's already in the budget. This is the one that the position that was assistant Ms. Hawkins in the front office that has been vacant for a couple months now with the departure of the last, they were once called office assistants. They are administrative assistants at FY 24. The reason being is, as you all know, the clerk is out and she's out for an extended period of time. So we are now taxed with more work to do. And I don't have any more time that I can give. And our current part-time admin assistant, another great resident, will be departing here shortly. She's ready to go back to retirement. So we need to fill that so that this person can be trained as soon as possible.
Yes, I would add that initially, I think we were going to phase this in a little later, but given the circumstance that we're in, we would like to consider bringing this person on now so we can help fill the gap that we're experiencing in administration at the moment.
We have a resident, or the person, can we see the person available?
I can email their resume to the group right now. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, we had stopped bringing the applicants before the council for these positions. So it's up to Mayor Lilly if he wants to reenact that.
Send me the person, but he wants to prove something blind.
I understand, but we've done our due diligence in vetting the candidates, so an interview process, and she actually made it through 2 interview processes, not just 1. So.
With Mr. Jones, if you could, without revealing any without revealing any PII, since I can't get that phrase out of my mouth right now, could you please tell us some of the qualifications of this applicant and add some detail since you can't give the resume physically to the council at this time?
Give me 1 second. I will pull up her profile.
Why are you doing that? Has she started already?
No, this is a full-time employee. She has not started. She has to be approved by a resolution of the council before she can start.
She was not part-time and being asked to move to full-time. I got it.
But on that note, why he's still looking?
Yes, Councilmember Bronson.
No, that's a resolution where they don't have to be approved by the council.
That's a part-time employee.
That's only police officers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
And just out of curiosity, who was on the panel?
Myself and Ms. White. Alrighty. This young lady actually served with FEMA as an administrative aide in their emergency assistance department. It looks like through it was a subcontractor of FEMA. She came here from Sarasota, Florida. She spent several years there. Let's see. So her background from that was basically an administrative assistant based on a description that I pulled up. And she was also, prior to that, This was in Florida as well, what they call a monitor, which is also a FEMA subcontractor, doing scheduling of contractors for debris removal.
Could you briefly, or not briefly, briefly, just summarize some of anything that indicated that she's going to serve well in the role based on your
Yes.
analysis?
I don't know if she actually volunteered for the Juneteenth function. Nobody probably paid her attention. She actually had a DPW reflective vest on. She was the light-skinned young lady with the long hair and the bubbly personality. She has some really good customer service skills and leadership capabilities, because she stepped in even as a volunteer and kind of bossed us around, which is what drew my attention and asked her to apply to the position. So.
Councilmember Noble?
I'm sorry. I think because there's a probationary period for people or for employees, we don't know their performance. What's on paper is on paper. So I think for the probationary period, it will be determined if she is qualified for the job and if she's a good fit for the job. So.
Yes, I stopped looking at resumes. I think we all just learned our lesson from that. So.
Yeah, but I mean, they have, Word, what is it, Microsoft skills and things like that. Those things you can see from paper and you can determine that. So you do need some things on paper that
But people-
they have experience in.
Yeah, but people put it on paper, but
That's part of the interview process.
I know, but I'm saying people put it on paper, but then you don't know it until they have to function.
That's
with
part
it.
of the interview process, what's on paper.
Councilmember McDonald,
Well, I
Council
think-
President McDonald.
I think to Councilmember Noble's point is, once we get the individual on board, we can determine from that probationary period if what has been discussed in the interview is actually what they're capable of doing. And I guess giving the share with her about what we do here at the town and the complexity of the level of work that she would be doing. That's the kind of stuff that would be discussed during the interview. So we do have a probationary period. We're giving this person a chance. We need the person that we do know. And based on the interview, we can decide, now, based on this resolution, to move forward, at least to get her here, to get her on board and to try her out for this probationary period. But it seems as though the skill sets are there to perform the functions. I think when we socialize individuals into the town at that level, then we mentor them, we help them, we coach them, and we, provide them with the support that they need to be effective in working in the town. Thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy.
I think everybody here knows my stance on resumes. I've asked in the past if people are qualified, halfway had my head chewed off, and those people are no longer here. We do have a different mayor. We do have different people in place now. So I do feel confidence that we will no longer have that bleeding heart syndrome where the probationary period extends to 3 years and then we realized 2 weeks after they got hired, they shouldn't have been here. So if,
I can attest that, yes, that is the case. They're not a good fit. I'll bring that swiftly to the council for consideration. I believe that we need to have effective personnel working in the town in all departments. And so, yes, I want to say we're turning over a new leaf. And I agree with Councilmember Noble and Council President McDonald that based on my conversation with the town administrator or acting town administrator, this person meets the qualifications that we need. And we will use the probationary period to see if the information that we gathered matches reality.
I forgot to put one last skill set that's critically important for Foresight. She is bilingual in English and Spanish. which is a issue we run into downstairs on a daily basis. So
Any okay, any other questions? Well, I move that we adopt resolution 58-23. I think we got the discussion in before I got to move. And that was my fault for asking Mr. Jones to speak first. We don't have to leave it in. I move that we adopt resolution 58-23.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 58-23. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. White, please call the roll.
Mayor Lily,
Yes.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Bronson. Councilmember Kennedy, the second,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Could you just count off the number of yeses and no votes and
6 yeses.
motion passes. Next, we will have resolution 59-23. And this is a resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, to approve the employment and appointment of Napoleon Epps Jr. as a crew member to serve in the Department of Public Works, introduced by Mayor Troy Barrington Lilly. We're not voting on this tonight. This is an item for consideration by the council. Is there any discussion?
I guess one question is, so I know that we had 2 individuals that were that are no longer working as crewmen for the town, right? Is that correct?
Mr. Belnavis, could you speak to that, sir?
Yes, Mayor. Yes, Mayor, we have Mr. Nathaniel.
Could you pull your mic a little closer, Mr. Belnavis?
Yes, we have two members that is no longer a member of the Department of Public Works.
Okay, so having said that, this serves as one of those replacements.
if I can interject, there's only one full-time equivalent that is vacant. There is a part-time custodian position that is vacant that we will be requesting the council to move to a company, not another individual.
If I might, Councilmember McDonald, I'm sorry, Council President McDonald, do you have another follow-up?
No follow-up, just.
If I might, I'm thinking maybe we can do something different here with the appointments, especially in departments like the police or in Public Works, where there's more individuals, multiple individuals, some are full-time, some are part-time. If we could maybe get a copy of the sheet of the FTE schedule that can indicate the change or the current status of employees, that might help council with understanding if we're adding on to the position, if we're removing, if the count is going up or down. Because that was one of the positive things that came out of our budget process this year. That's an addendum to the budget and a document that will be helpful. I also will add that we'll be introducing at a later date, I don't want to say when, but an organizational chart which will show the structure of the government, which will also provide more transparency and clarity. Any other discussion on resolution 5923? Okay. Next, we will move to resolution 60-23. This is a resolution to approve an addendum to the Fugitive Task Force Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, between the U.S. Marshal Service and the town for its police department regarding body-worn camera use by task force officers, introduced by Councilmember Paula Noble. Chief Reese, could you please give a brief synopsis of the intent behind this resolution?
Yes, sir. So previously, as you know, that we do have a member that is a part of the Capital Regional Fugitive Task Force with the Department of Justice federally. They are mandating that all of their law enforcement officers wear body worn cameras. This addendum is basically saying that we will allow the officers that we let participate on the task force wear the body worn camera, and then they will abide by the standard operating procedures from the Department of Justice. So it's basically just letting them know that they can wear the cameras. Federally, all law enforcement officers have to have a camera now.
And just from my understanding, how many officers will this affect?
For the town of Forsyth, there's only one, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions from council?
One question. So it only would affect one officer?
Yes, we only allow one officer to participate. As a town, all of our officers are mandated to wear a body worn camera. Before the new legislation federally took over, federal officers did not have to wear body worn cameras. Because this officer is deputized as a federal officer, he has to abide by their rules.
Thank you.
Okay, just one moment. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will move to the next item on the agenda. Next, we have resolution 61-23. This is Council President McDonald.
Yes, one question. So there was.
Is this about the prior item?
60-23 we just discussed?
We're not adopting that tonight. Or we're not trying to, yeah,
Okay, thank
the
you.
rest of the items on the agenda tonight, we are presenting to council for consideration. We will consider votes on these items at the meeting for July 19th. Next, we have resolution 61-23. This is a resolution to approve a proposal and contract with True Seal Companies LLC, T/A True Seal Asphalt Maintenance, True Seal, for the Arapahoe Drive Street Repair and Stormwater Project, introduced by Mayor Troy Barrington Lilly. Discussion? And if you would, is this Mr. O'Connor or Mr. Belnavis that wants to provide comment on this? Mr. O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This project was brought to light by staff as well as complaints from residents. In specific, Mayor Lilly brought this forward in reference to stormwater management issues on Arapahoe Drive, which were very prevalent. This project was posted publicly for bid. It was posted on the Maryland Municipal League for 20 days. It was posted in Town Hall, and multiple vendors were also contacted to attend the pre-bid conference. The pre-bid conference was held. The only responsive company that showed up for the mandatory pre-bid conference was True Seal Asphalt Maintenance. During that pre-bid conference, myself and Mr. Belnavis took the company to the various locations, describing the work effort and scope of work that was going to be required. There's a few phases on this project. Phase one is Arapahoe Drive. If it pleases the mayor and council, I'll skip the finer details of this since you have the proposal, unless you want me to go through it.
Just if you could just address the streets that it'll impact. I know it's going to impact more than Arapahoe. So if you could provide some more detail on that.
No problem. So phase one is Arapahoe Drive, and on Arapahoe Drive, basically it's about 23,500 square feet of milling surfaces and intersections, as well as replacing the speed humps, concrete work to fix the curb and gutter, and the drainage system on Arapahoe Drive. So the drainage runs on the right side of the road if you're coming from Livingston towards 5508. So that entire swale has been overgrown. The concrete is failing and it's causing stormwater management issues. So that entire swale system that is on the right side of the roadway is going to be revetted and replaced. Then if you move further up the roadway, there is a particular section of road where I think we all might be familiar. There's a huge pothole just past the speed bump, which has been fixed with bricks. People have just put bricks in the hole and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And one of the reasons for that is because to properly mill and pave a roadway, you're supposed to re-mill the roadway, the foundation, relay the new pavement. Unfortunately, in years past, somebody just repaved the roadway. Well, what happens is the water gets up underneath the first layer, in between the second layer, freezes, cracks the first layer, and then cracks the top layer. So when you start seeing the spider web effect on your roadway, that's because the road is freezing in between the two layers of asphalt. So you're really not supposed to asphalt overlay if all avoidable. So that whole section is going to be fixed with a swale with proper drainage that's going to direct the water that's been flooding that area and push it out towards the 210 side of Arapahoe Drive. Phase 2 is Alden Way, which has severe stormwater management issues. If you're familiar, during the winter time, that entire intersection near Modoc will go ahead and freeze over and become an ice skating rink. We recently had a pipe burst from WSSC on that roadway. The entire project that's going to be down there is going to replace and extend the guardrail. It is going to provide for stormwater channeling and movement to push it into the actual stormwater management system at the end of Alden Way. Simultaneously, it's going to be relocating a resident's driveway, which the resident has complained multiple times that the driveway is flooded and they can't get into it. Rightfully so, because the pavement there is actually eroding from underneath and at risk of falling off. So that's all going to be fixed as a part of this project. Along with phase 2, the entire intersection of Shawnee and Alden Way, pushing all the way down to the stormwater management side, is going to be milled and repaved. Right now, it's probably no less than 20 different patches that have been done in that intersection. It's actually horrible. Phase 3 is going to be Seneca Drive and Sachem Drive roadway and park improvements. On Seneca Drive, there's going to be replacement of the roadway and removal of blacktop that has been either improperly put in or was put in previously by when they were repaving the roadways, which it should not be there. In fact, there was a sidewalk that should have ran out to the roadway, which was destroyed in one of the projects predating all of us sitting here, most likely. The park improvements are also going to fix all the sidewalks that have been brought up by council and residents. The trees that are in that area, the roots have undergrown the sidewalk and have lifted the sidewalks up. So some of them on our severe angle, which is these are actual hazards, and it limits access for ADA as well, because you can't move a wheelchair across back and forth. If you even tried, you would just get stuck. The electrical start charging station area in the community gathering space is, I think we all know the condition of it. It's an unfinished project that has just sat there. So that is being wrapped into this entire project. It's going to allow for the old bricks that are there to be removed if they're not already removed. I know there was some work that was being done, and a fence that's going to be put up, as well as fixing the electric charging station area. The charging station area right now has some stormwater management issues, as well as it's just run down and does not reflect the community rightfully. So that's going to be created to a nice parking spot, be sealed off, and the walkway is going to be replaced. All of these projects are directly impacting stormwater management. When you look at these, you can see some of the pictures. You can see the erosion from the stormwater that is running down, which has also caused some of the sidewalk to actually sink down. These projects are being paid for through American Rescue as a smaller portion, but the town is leveraging capital infrastructure bonds, which were issued some time ago. and have to be used for this type and particular project. In fact, the scope of the work when we met with the vendor was very, very careful to make sure we stay within the bounds of the capital infrastructure bond that the town did have. I guess I could take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Noble.
Yes, Mr. O'Connor, my question is in reference to WSSC pipes.
Yes.
How far down are those pipes? You know, where they're removed, because I guess my thing is the pipes are very old as well. So we may have something nice and new, and then we'll have a rupture of a water pipe, and then all the work is kind of in vain. So are we going to, in conjunction with WSSC, look at the water pipes for replacement at the same time, or is that something we need to do?
So the contractor will have to work with WSSC related to the water pipes. They're usually installed below the frost line. However, in severe freezing temperature, you know, as the water runs down, freezes the pipe. That is a larger scope of a project that would have to be done. However, those pipes are outside of this particular intersection. So what we would have to worry about is the water coming down from those other particular areas. Regardless, we'll know what's sitting there because before they do any work, they have to do a locate. And when they do the locate, they'll mark the entire roadway. If there's WSSC pipes that run beneath that, I'll ensure that they reach out to WSSC to see if there's any issues that may arise, so they can come in and do the work while we've got it ripped up versus us paying money to have this beautiful pavement put down and then have them come in and rip it up and have it patched.
Thank you.
Councilmember, let me go to Councilmember Kennedy and then Council President McDonald.
Phase 3. When are we thinking that might be started?
So all of these are actually going to run simultaneously. We're saving a significant amount of money by not having the vendor mobilize multiple times to do the projects. And the mayor and council will see another proposal likely before the month is over for another project we're going to save significantly on because of mobilization. So the idea is they're going to have the equipment here, and when one site is waiting on clearance from WSSC, they're working on the other site and they're rotating around on the time management. And when it all comes said and done, they'll be able to pave everything all at once. So they have all the trucks running. So this is going to be well, it might be a phase 3, phase 1, 2, and 3. It was just done for a point of clarity. They are going to be doing things simultaneously.
So this dollar amount that's on here will fix everything?
Everything that's in this proposal, the dollar amount that's there, it'll fix everything that's detailed in this proposal.
What about the problem that we've been having on Seneca, where it looks like the road might be in need of more repair than milling and overlay?
So this is not going to address the sinkhole area, I think you'd be referring to. That's blocked off right now. There are 3 proposals for that to get taken care of. I know there was some logistics we were working through, but that's going to be fixed. And it doesn't seem, based on the assessment of the contractors, it does not seem that that is so far widespread that it would affect any further than about 20 by 20 out to have them pull up and replace. So I don't see that too much of a widespread issue based on their opinion and what I've looked at, and with Mr. Belnavis. I think it's a matter of getting the proper stormwater piping in there that runs into the existing infrastructure.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't forget that and that was going to be addressed also.
No, absolutely. It's addressed and everything is there. We're just working through the logistics on it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Council President McDonald.
Yes, a couple questions, Mr. O'Connor. One is, who is True Seal? And are we considering minority-owned businesses to conduct some of this work in the contract? Thank you.
So this bid was put out statewide for all companies to bid. The only responsive company was True Seal. We did reach out to other vendors. I know the police chief reached out to a vendor directly as well to see if they participate. This is the only vendor that did. I will say from previous experience working at True Seal, does have MBE participation within their contracts. I couldn't give you the percentage, but I do know that it's a significant amount that they use for all the varying companies that they subcontract and work with through these processes. But it was not a requirement of the bid. The town does not have a requirement for MBE participation, although it is encouraged. And in any of the proposals and bids that I put out, I encourage MBE participation. Don't want to get too ahead, but there is a proposal that'll be coming before you, which is 75% MBE participation, just for that reason.
Thank you.
I have one question. How long do you see this project taking? I was just wondering about by being late summer, sometimes the heat causes concrete to swell, ice causes it to do something else. So how long you anticipate this taking?
So if we get this approved at the next meeting, I'll be able to get everything executed. I would say August, we'd be able to start work. Realistically, I see this probably being a 5-month project or less based on the entire scope. I think that's more about 5 months, 6 months at most if they run into any issues. But DPW has done an amazing job clearing the way on a lot that would have been very time consuming, the tedious prep work. So I think they're going to be able to come in and knock it out relatively fast.
Did you mention something about WSSC and that has to do something?
Well, WSSC doesn't have to do much of anything unless we're touching their pipes. They'll have to do an inspection. They'll come out and see anything with it if we have to touch any of their pipes. So I don't see that at this point right now. If they do have to come out and touch the pipes, that's where the multi-phase approach comes in, where they start working on or continue working on one of the other portions of the project so they stay on time. So that's why they're kind of 3 different sites working on 3 different projects all at once. So if one gets held up, the other one will still continue.
Thank you.
Council President McDonald, thank you, Councilmember Brownson.
So one last question, Mr. O'Connor. So was there any expression of I would say limitations in terms of the being able to address the complexity of this project? Because according to what Councilmember Noble said, it seems to be or could be an issue after the work is done with the water.
You're always going to run into infrastructure problems with an aging system such as WSSC. We could try to get WSSC to improve their infrastructure while we're doing this project, but we'll be sitting here for another 2 years trying to get them to do that. I mean, that's just the reality of it. They're going to put it into their capital budget. They're going to slate it and they're going to see what time they can do it. If it hasn't failed, they're not going to fix it. That's their opinion. But what I'm going to try and do during this project is if there are pipes with WSSC, I'm going to see if there's anything in their capital projects for replacement that is planned and see if they can get to it while we have these, basically the heart, the chest opened up. That's the plan. Well, I don't want to put good asphalt down and then have to have it ripped up and then have a patch, and even if I have to, when I'm working with the contractor, if there's something that happens where, let's say there's 30 linear feet of the roadway where there's a pipe running. Well, okay, I'm going to stop the contractor short, let WSSC do what they need to do, and then they can come back and they can finish, and it won't be a patch. It'll actually be just a continuation of the roadway versus a patch. So I'll do everything possible to make sure that our work product or their work product meets expectations and just doesn't have to get ripped up.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. Councilmember Kennedy.
If memory serves me correctly, I believe the front part of what we call the gathering place is owned by WSSC. They do have pipes under there.
Which portion?
The front portion, closer to the sidewalk.
I didn't hear
The gathering place,
Seneca or
Yeah,
which
Seneca and the gathering place.
the gathering place itself.
Yeah, we won't be doing anything that should deal with any pipes in the community gathering space where we have to worry about WSSC because we're not actually going to be milling that roadway or replacing that roadway. Everything else is going to be the sidewalks and it's going to be the curb and gutter. So we should be on the top surface, even though we're still going to do a locate because we have to. I don't think we're going to run into any issues with that whatsoever.
Okay, also in this resolution, there was mention about water runoff basically getting pushed off into the 210 side.
Yes.
Is that gonna be some type of pipe that's gonna take it all the way down? Because if we run it off at the top, the last thing I want to do is see more erosion in the town.
So we, Mr. Belnavis and I were out there with the contractors and that was a topic of discussion. Actually was when we did this was one of the first questions the contractor asked. How are we going to do this? Well, they're going to run the pipe that's underneath and we're going to try and button hook the pipe over on where it falls into the swales that are already existing. So we can direct the water down Arapahoe Drive into the stormwater management system that's existing on the right-hand side of Arapahoe Drive. That is the initial plan. If we can't get that to work, the secondary option is we're going to have to put riprap. So there's no erosion that happens when and slows the water down. This way there's no erosion that would come from it. So basically you have a drain, a catch, riprap, slow the water, no erosion, and that would work. So it just trickles down the hill.
Thank you.
There was a question about getting an image into some of those catch-alls for stormwater just to determine if there's any blockages. Will that be done as part of this work as well?
That was not in the scope of work that was
Okay.
there. However, I'm pretty sure I can work with the contractor to see if they have it's a simple scoping device. And when the plumbers are out there, I can always go out and have a conversation, say, hey, do you mind just checking this out? Normally WSSC would run those, but it depends on how far back you want to go to see if there's any blockage. We might be able to get a camera down there and just see how far it goes. Nothing extensive.
Thank you. I want to add two things. First, on the topic of WSSC pipes, one of the streets I know that's extremely affected by this issue is Shawnee Drive, but further up, not this bottom portion that we're going to be repaving, but actually the part that directs into Forest Heights Park. I just want to add this as a note. I've observed, and you know this, and so does Mr. Belnavis. That's a street where if we ever decide to take on that project, we're going to have to address the pipe issue there. The water main breaks several times a year and water will shoot through the pavement. And so whoever raised that issue, Council Member Noble and Council President McDonald, glad that you raised those because it is going to be a concern in some other places, even though it may not be to the same magnitude in the streets that we're looking at for this project. The other thing I wanted to bring to council's attention is that I don't know what page this is in the piece of legislation, but the last page of information on this particular resolution 61-23, it has a sheet that is indicative of what the capital improvement plan sheets will look like once it's fully developed. So if you're wanting to get a preview of the level of information that will be provided, how we will track all the projects we need to work on, and how they will be fit into a budget line item or a year over a period of time, this is a great sheet of reference to show you the direction that we'll be going in. Everyone see that? It's the last page right before resolution 62-23. So that is the direction that we're going in with the capital improvement plan to survey what needs to be done, how much we estimate that it will cost, a description of the issue and the work we plan to do, and then a schedule of when we may plan to work that into the budget.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, on
Yes,
this,
sir.
on this CIP sheet, this is a living document. And so what you see in the document gets changed and updated as the project is going, funding sources change. So while you have a hard copy in front of you, what'll happen is everything will be realigned into this sheet. so the mayor and council and town administrator can stay up to date with the particular funding sources and where it's coming from, where it's going, and how it's going.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Council President McDonald.
Mr. O'Connor, I think what's very interesting to me is that, and I'm reading this, that this company, and we've said it, is the only company. Like, that is what's interesting to me, that True Seal has a history of numerous successful repaving and all that kind of stuff, but that it was the only. And it's just interesting that it was the only, like, it seems as though it's the only company that was willing to, I guess, take on this project. And there's no other company that was interested in, I guess, work the, you know, the, I guess, resolve to the issue that we're having, is willing to take on. Is that more of why we only have one contractor or company that responded?
No, you know, I would say that if I just went out and chose this company versus, I think the concerns would be valid, but this was publicly bid to make sure that we got the companies out there, and it was listed on the Maryland Municipal League. I made sure I provided that documentation, the public bid. You know, it was posted in town hall and multiple vendors were contacted. You know, again, I solicited the chief of police while he was still at DPW to reach out to one of the other vendors that the town frequently used. And they did not participate. And in fact, 15 minutes before the actual bid, I called Mr. Belnavis and I said, hey, make sure you call this vendor and see if they're going to come. And they did not come. So I think what we have here is a lack of responsiveness from companies to probably undertake this scope and level of work like you alluded to. But every single time we're going to bid it out and we're going to make sure it's a public bid, and we're going to go through the mandatory bid process and make sure that, hey, look, we're giving every single company an opportunity. We're not just picking them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. I have an additional question. Are there any other avenues or places online or otherwise where we can socialize the bids to attract more attention? Because while this is a project we need to do and I want to do, and I think the council to do, I think that it having something to compare it to will add context.
That would require an entire rebid, and this document's now public. So now you have the pricing of what it is. It would give an unfair competitive advantage to anybody else that would probably bid on it. However, in the future, MML has updated their classifieds, which should be up and running soon, which should be tied to eBid Marketplace as well. So the idea is to put everything on eBid Marketplace and have the procurements listed there as well.
Yeah, is eBid Marketplace a database that people use other than municipalities?
Yes, statewide. It's actually run by the state. So once we're able to get set up appropriately in eBid Marketplace and utilize MML, we'll be able to start putting our procurement processes on there as well. So.
Okay, yes, I think we'd like to exhaust more options to get more attention and more folks to participate in the bidding process so we can compare and maybe see some different context from one vendor to the other. Is there any more discussion on Resolution 61-23? Okay. We will move to the next item. Next, we have Resolution 62-23, which is a fiscal year 2024 budget amendment number 1. It's a resolution to accept local impact grant funding from Prince George's County and to adjust the sums and amounts for the fiscal year annual budget beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024. introduced by Mayor Troy Barrington Lilly. And I will summarize this one because I'm very familiar. In the last fiscal year, I worked to help secure funding in the county's budget for the town to work on initiatives that include youth and community engagement and beautification and litter removal specifically. This is a grant that both grants together total $915,000. That's $475,000 for beautification and litter removal and $440,000 for youth engagement. And this is an amendment to accept those funds. And there was an application process whereby the town had to provide information and fill out various forms, work with the Office of Management and Budget at the county. And so we are ready to receive these funds. And this resolution is simply allowing us to add it into our budget at this time. Is there a discussion? What was that? Well, I move that we adopt resolution 62-23.
Second.
Any other? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 62-23. Is there any discussion? Any? Okay, Madam, Ms. White, please call the roll.
Mayor Lilly,
Yes.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy II,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
6 in favor.
Motion passes. Okay. At this time, we will move into the mayor and council members' reports, and we will begin with Ward 1, Council President McDonald.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm excited to say that I attended my first Maryland Municipal League Conference. And I actually was able to complete 5 core courses and 2 electives. I will be submitting the application to become an actual member moving forward. Second, I had an opportunity to speak with the Green Initiative individual at the Expo to get us back on track and to complete some of the work needed to meet the requirements for Sustainable Forest Heights. So I'm looking forward to that. Third, I'm looking forward to our engagement opportunity that's coming up with our youth and adults this month in support of Healthy Heights with our bike rides. And last but not least, I want to express my condolences for the line of duty death of K9 Kuno, and to our officer who had that K9 in his possession. So thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. Could you share the dates again for the
Yes.
event that's upcoming, the bike ride?
Yes, so the dates for the upcoming bike ride, and I'm also trying to find out what the status is in terms of, because I'm not sure as to who, I thought that Shalita was collecting the information, because I received an email also from someone, I think it was Miss Cooney sent me an email letting me know that someone was interested. So June 30th. So what we're doing is the first 30 participants will.
July 30th?
July 30th. Sorry. Just forgive me. Let me go back. So it's the bike ride is going to be for ages 10 to 18. The first 30 participants will receive complimentary bicycles and helmets, which they must use on the bike trail. Okay. So that's going to be Sunday, July the 16th from 12 to 2 p.m. That's for the youth. And we had asked that individuals who were interested needed to RSVP by July 7th. And then we're gonna have an engagement with our adults, adult only bike ride on Sunday, July the 30th. And that's from 12 to 2 p.m. as well. And both of these will take place or start out with the meetup will be on the Forest Heights at the Forest Heights gathering space. And the ride with the youth will be to the Oxon Hill Farms Trail. So we're still determining where the adults ride is going to be. But we'll have that clear because I'm sure that maybe the adults may want to ride another trail. I'm not sure, but right now there's the Oxon Hill Farm Trail as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. Next, Ward 2, Council Member Brownson.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Council Member Kennedy.
I was fortunate enough to go back to Mount L this year, having not gone for a long time. There are a lot of new faces in the municipalities across Maryland. Also, they do offer a graduate class, which I feel that everyone who has graduated should attend that class. It was very insightful. This year it was actually collaborative leadership. So the instructor, Dr. Paul, was actually excellent and the class was excellent. And I'm sure the council president, who actually got a chance to see part of it, will contest to that. But I definitely recommend people going there, new classes with everything new that's going on. But especially the graduate class was worth going to.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Next, we'll move to Ward 3, Councilmember Hines.
Good evening. Yes, I also went to MML. I also attended the graduate class and it was very informative. I brought back for the council the exercise that was done. Hopefully, we can get those copies, but it was very informative. I'd really like to bring the speaker here to our town because he just gave so many solutions and different looks, scenarios, and just the information. But also, I just want to say tomorrow being 4th of July, please be safe. They suggest that, seeing that fireworks aren't, in Maryland, aren't supposed to be in Maryland, to use silly string. And I know it's a mess, but I didn't know that you can't even use sparklers. But yeah, so please be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble.
Good evening. I have a couple of things. Yes, I went to MML as well. It was a great experience. And I want to first say that on Monday, Juneteenth, we started, I feel like a celebration for the residents. And then on that Saturday, we had a health symposium here. And we had people from George Washington University. We had American Diabetes, Infinity, we had Memory Screen. We had so many things that the feedback I've received is just, it was awesome. It was amazing. And people had the opportunity to get screening. And I want to thank our interim town administrator, Mr. Jones, and the police force as well. They were all here and it was just a great event for the residents. And Dr. Walton is looking forward to the next one. So I think on Thursday, she's going to do dementia friend training for the police department here. So they're very excited to come back to the town. The next thing is at MML, I went to a workshop talking about villages. In Cheverly, they have a village. And in the village, they help the residents age in place, not move to another location, but age in place. So it's a different kind of program. So I'm going to reach out to that moderator and see what it takes for the town to not become a village, but village of its community. So we have to look out for those residents who are not physically able or they can't anymore come to the town. We have to make sure that they get the newsletter. And that was a key point she made, that people rely on paper, right? Some people don't, but we have to make our generations work together in a community. So I want to see how we can create that. It may be one street at a time, or it may be all of them at the same time, but we're going to, I see hopefulness for those who feel, especially since COVID, isolated, and we got to bring them back into the fold. I also wanted to say, and this is Ward 2 and 3, that there's a public hearing for the National View. It's a post this time in the middle of Cree, right at the triangle for the proposed development. And the hearing is scheduled for July 27th. So I'll get the phone number, or I'll forward the photo that we can put on our website, so people will know if they want to listen to the hearing or participate in the hearing in reference to National View. I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble. Yeah, in reference to National View, thank you for mentioning that. We'll make sure that information gets out to residents via our many channels, electronic and otherwise, so that you can participate and give comment. And I'm actually reached out to the National View team to see if we can have an update for residents ahead of that hearing. We'll see if that's possible, just so residents can get apprised of the latest development in the track of that project. For myself, I also attended Maryland Municipal League's conference last week, which I found very valuable as always. I finished up my core classes, so I have one elective left before I have completed the Academy of Excellence in Local Governance. Attended a couple classes with one fellow council member. Got a lot of information, stormwater, dealing with grants, annexation, a lot of information that's helpful in running the town efficiently and understanding some of the challenges and then some of the creative solutions to deal with issues that municipalities face. While I was there, met briefly with Chief of Staff for Congressman Ivey, and I brought back to their attention the unfinished crossing between Bell Acres Park and the lovely but often ignored Oxon Hill Cove and Farm Trail, which if residents don't know, is an opening to Oxon Run, which is an opening to the Potomac. That trail's been neglected for many years, and the bridge that used to allow you to cross the ravine totally washed away and gone. There is a bridge that goes to the DC side, to Blue Plains, that is perfectly intact. It's very solid, it's very well engineered, but for residents who just want to continue on the Maryland side, there's nothing there for us. So it is a federal issue. Raised it with their team, and we're following up and hoping to get some traction on getting that bridge reconstructed. Also, on June the 24th, this was just before MML, I attended the Community Day at Forest Heights Baptist Church, which is in the town of Forest Heights, as the name might suggest. And so looking to revive the partnership with that church, since they do many community things. They have youth and other activities and community service events that they do. And lastly, piggybacking on Councilmember Hines, I would just like to one day early wish all the residents of Forest Heights a happy and safe Independence Day tomorrow. The town will be closed, so employees won't be here, but we'll be back on Wednesday. And that is all that I have. Any other comments from council before we move on? Councilmember Noble.
Speaking of 4th of July, I'm just going to give a shout out to my son. Tomorrow is his birthday. Thank you.
He grew up in Forest Heights, right? Okay. Council President McDonald.
One quick question. So I wanted to get clarity on the July 8th meeting at 10 a.m. in the mayor's office. What is that again? I'm
That
sorry.
is for residents on Creed Drive who have
Oh.
erosion, large scale erosion in their backyards.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next we will have new business. Is there any new business tonight? Okay. Well, hearing none, ladies and gentlemen, the time is now 9:50 and this meeting is adjourned.
Good night.
Good evening. Good night.